Join me as we learn Chitas for Shabbos, the seventh Torah reading of Parshas Tazria-Metzora combined. We are now in chapter 15, verse 16. We are now learning the laws pertaining to the different discharges. Yesterday we learned about the discharge that comes from a male. Today we're going to learn about the discharge that comes from a female, and as the different impurities that can come from seminal discharges or other menstrual discharge that will cause a man or woman impure. Verse 16. And a man from whom there issues a discharge of semen. He must immerse himself in water, that is kol basari, entire flesh, and it will be impure until the evening. Verse 17. V'chol beged v'chol oir, or any garment or any item of leather. Asher yeh of shichva that has semen on it, and therefore it has to be immersed. It has to be washed in water, and it is impure until the evening. Verse 18. V'isha, and a woman, asher yishkaf ish eisa shichva zara, whom engages with a man in marital relations, and there was a discharge of semen, therefore they have to immerse themselves in water, where they will remain impure until the evening. Rashi, v'rachatzu b'mayim, gzeiras melach. What is this telling us over here? If we already learned about the impurity of the man, that if he has a discharge, he has to be immerse himself in water. This is telling us, gzeiras melach yishatitma isha b'biyah. This was a decree of the king, that the woman, when she has a relationship with her husband, then she becomes impure. This has nothing to do with her touching the semen of the man. This has to do just that the Torah says that when a woman and man engage in marital relations, therefore the woman has to immerse herself in the mikveh as well. Verse 19. The Isha Kitiya Zavadam. Now we are going to discuss if a woman has a discharge, a uterine discharge, and Zayva Bibsara, and her discharge is a menstrual Bibsara Shivas Yamim, and it comes to her a uterine discharge for 7 days. It's for 7 days, Tia Benidasa, she will then be in her menstrual blood. The Chol Negeaba, whoever touches her Yitma Da'arav, becomes impure until the evening. Rashi explains what the language of the Torah is telling us over here as follows. Verse 19. Kisiya Zava, Yachal, I would have thought that when she sees blood mi'echad mikol ivera from any of her limbs, Talmud Leimar, therefore the Torah says, V'gilsas mikar dameh, that it has to be from the place of the source of her uterine. The only blood that would make a woman impure is blood that comes from the source, meaning that it comes from her uterus. Dam yeh zayva b'bsara, ein zayva kar zev l'tami l'mkein wadem. The only time that it's considered blood that would be considered impure is only if it's red. Benidasa, in her menstrual period, kemoyu mitevli nidushi menuda mimana called on. The reason why it was called nida. Nida comes from the word condemned or banned, that she cannot touch any person because of her flow of blood. Tia benidasa, she should be in her nida, in her menstrual period. Even if it's only the first time that she noticed she observed the blood, and it's only her first day, she still has to be considered impure as if during the rest of the 7 days as well. Verse 20. Any object of which she reclines upon during that time of her menstrual period, Yitma, she will become impure. Whatever she touches and sits on will become impure as well. Verse 21. Anybody that touches the things that she reclined on, would have to wash their clothing and immerse themselves in water and be impure until the evening. And anyone that touches any object that she may have sat on, will have to wash their clothing and immerse themselves in water as impure until the evening. 23. If on the object, if on the item, on an object that she reclined upon or sat upon, someone touches it, that she's sitting on it at the moment, and someone touches it, then Yitma da'arav, they become defiled until the evening as well. They become impure until the evening. Rashi explains what that means. Im halamishkafu explains as follows. If somebody's recliner is sitting on her recliner or her spot, even if they did not touch it. So for example, there's a bunch of pillows and they're sitting on one of the pillows that touched the pillow that she used to sit on. And this is also part of the impurity that we mentioned before, that you would have to wash your clothing. Ala kli, on the object, this includes the what writing on. When touching it, that's not referring to writing, which was just included about on any vessel that she may be touching. What does it mean when you touch it, you become impure? And then you don't have to wash your clothing, because writing doesn't make touch impure for the person to make the person's garments as well impure. That's what we mentioned previously, the difference between writing and sitting. Sitting would make the garments impure, writing would only make the person, not the garments. Verse 24. If a man is together with a woman and engages in marital relations, uteheni dasalav, while she is still in her menstrual period, if a man engages in marital relations with her, and because of that, tuheni dasalav, and then she is caused that she has her menstrual period at that time, what happens is, v'tamei shivas yamim, she then transmits to him, and she becomes, and they will both be impure for 7 days. And anything that he reclines on will become impure as well. Rashi 24. Tihini dasalav, meaning that the impurity of the nida, of the menstrual period, goes on to the husband as well. I would think that the reason why that what does this mean that she becomes impure is that the same time of the impurity applies to both. That whatever's remaining time of the impurity should end is the same way when she ends her impurity, he should also end impurity. For example, that if he was with her on the 5th day of her impurity, she'll only be impure for 3 days because she only has 3 days left. That he's impure for 7 days. What does it mean that it will have impurity on him? Meaning that even the person who's engaged in that relation, so over here it's telling us two things. Number one, that the man is always impure for 7 days. Even if she's almost finished her cycle, meaning she's in her 5th day and he starts anyways from the 7th day. Number two is that the same way she makes everything impure, so too whatever he touches will make everything impure as well. Verse 25. So until now we were talking about the woman when she has a regular menstrual period and when that she becomes impure. Now we will discuss the ritual defilement that a woman contracts from any non-menstrual bleeding and the different types of discharge. So a woman who discharged blood flow for more than 2 days. And this is not in the 7-day span of her menstrual period. Or during the time of her 7-day menstrual period, she also has some type of discharge. All the time that this discharge is coming out of her impurity, during the same time of her menstrual period, she will then be considered impure as well. Rashi. Yomim Rabim. What does it mean, many days? Shloisha Yomim, 3 days. Not in the time of her menstrual period. After she already finished her 7 days of seeing her menstrual period, this is already 3 days. So she saw blood for 3 days straight on the 8th, 9th, and 10th, let's say. She had 7-day period of a menstrual period. Verse 25, concerning a woman's defilement from abnormal discharges. V'isha ki yazov zeiv dama. A woman whose discharge of the uterine blood flows for more than 2 days, yamim rabim, for more than 2 days, beloy es nidasa. This is outside of her time of her menstrual period, of outside the 7-day period that we discussed before, and as we'll elaborate soon in Rashi about when we talk about the 7-day span of her menstrual period. Oy ki sazuv al nidasa, or she has a discharge for more than 3 days after her menstrual separation. Kol yemei zeiv timasa, any time that she has a discharge that will make her impure. Kimei nidasa, she will be impure in the same way she is when she has a menstrual period. Tameyahi, she stays impure. Rashi explains as follows. Yomim rabim, first of all, what does it mean, many days? Generally, plural amount of days is 2. When it says rabim many, it means more than 2 days, which is 3 days. Shloish yomim. Beloy es nidasa, not in the time of her period. After she already finished the 7 days, that she becomes impure for a menstrual period. So let's say now she has from 1 through 7 is her menstrual period that she's impure for, and now 8, 9, and 10 she has again another flow, which is a discharge that is called a zava discharge, which will make her impure for those 3 days. Which then she has to have not only for those 3 days, for the 7 days of the zava period, as we'll explain in the next Rashi. Or she has a discharge for the next 3 days, during these 3 days, al nidasa. What does it mean on her menstrual period? Meaning, muflug mididasa gemechad, separated from her menstrual period by 1 day. So for example, 1 through 7, she has a regular period, then a day separated, and then 10, 11, and 8, 9, and 10, or 9, 10, and 11, whatever it may be that she has, then another discharge, and that discharge would make her impure for 7 days, as Rashi is going to explain. Zui zava, this is what's considered a female discharge impurity, a zava. Umishpat choris beparashazu, and the laws pertaining a zava is explained in this week's Torah, in this section of the next few verses of 25 through 30. V'loi kedas hanida, and it's very different than a woman who has her menstrual period. Shazum, because when it comes to a zava, a woman who has this discharge, to una svira shiva nikim, she needs to count 7 days of clean days without discharge. After the 7 clean days, she has to then bring a sacrifice, a carbon for an atonement. Vahanida, however, a woman who only has a menstrual period, does not have to count 7 clean days. 7 days from the time of her menstrual period until she finishes a 7-day count. Even if her menstrual period only finishes 5 days into the count and she only has 2 clean days, then she still only has to wait 7 days, and she does not have to bring a sacrifice. Bein roya, bein shein roya. Whether she sees blood during the 7 days or not, she has to wait 7 days, and whether she doesn't see 7 days, and she does not have to bring a sacrifice. So you see the number one difference is a zava would have to first of all wait 7 clean days after the discharge, and then also have to bring a sacrifice at the end. A nida, which is a woman for a menstrual period, does not have to wait 7 clean days, just has to wait 7-day period from the bleeding, and as well does not have to bring a sacrifice. Today, in Jewish law, a nida as well waits 7 clean days, and that is an extra stringency that the women took upon themselves, that any time they have a discharge, because it may be a zava, they also wait that extra 7 days. But biblically speaking, the nida only waits a 7-day period, not 7 clean day period. V'darshu chachamim, v'darshu beparshazu, and the rabbis explained in this Torah reading, in this explanation, achad asar yom yesh ben seif nida l'tchilas nida. They've come to see that there is 11 days between the woman's end when she sees blood for the first time, which we would call the days of nida, to the beginning of the next days of nida as well. Any 3-day period that she has a discharge, one after consecutive 3 days, after the period of the first 7 days, that means in these 11 days, she would be considered and qualified as a zava, not as a nida, which would then make that she would have to wait for 7 clean days and bring a sacrifice as well. And every 18 days, that means you have this period of 18 days from when the first time that she sees her blood, she then, for the menstrual period, she counts 7 days of the nida, then 11 days of called of a ziva for the zav. Verse 26, Kol ha-mishkav asher tishkav alav, anything that she would recline on, which now we're going through the states of impurity that which she would cause. Kol yemei zoiva, any time during her discharge, kemishkav nidasa, it's going to be as if she's a nida when she has that impurity. Yela will be like her, v'chol ha-kli asher teshav, and so to any vessel that she would sit on. Tamei, it would be impure. Yeh ketumas nidasa would have the same laws as applied when she's impure during her menstrual period. Verse 27, whoever touches them and comes in contact with them will become impure. They will have to wash their clothing and immerse themselves in water, and they will be impure until the evening. Verse 28, if she becomes rid of her discharge, she then will have to count 7 days that she will be clean, meaning that there is no discharge coming from her any longer. And only afterward she becomes pure. Verse 29, and after the 7 clean days, on the 8th day, she will then take for herself 2 young pigeons, 2 turtle doves of 2 young pigeons, she'll bring it to the Kohen, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then the Kohen will make one of them as a sin offering, one of them as a scent offering. This will now become as an atonement for the individual. Lifnei Hashem, in front of God, mizoyiv tum asa, from the defilement, from the fact that she became impure due to her discharge. Verse 31, v'hizartam es b'nei Yisrael, and you must separate the Israelites mitum asam, from their impurities, v'lo yamusu b'tum asam, and they should not die on the account of their impurities, as b'tamam es mishkani, by them making my tabernacle, my sanctuary, impure, asher b'seicham, that is amongst them. Rashi, what does the word v'hizarta mean? Comes ve'inazira lashem prisha. The word nazira means to separate. And therefore, over here, the terminology of v'hizartam is that they should separate, that they are considered segregated, different, and they must separate themselves because of the laws of impurity. As we see by a nazir means he separates himself from having wine. So we tell him nazir achoyer, nazir achav, separate yourselves, go back, separate yourselves from your brothers. What does it mean they should not die with this impurity? Over here we learn that if a person begets the death where a person dies prematurely, over here it's considered the concept of death, because the whole punishment of kares means that he's dying prematurely. And therefore, in this case, it's actually worse than the capital punishment, because in this case, he dies prematurely, and so too his children. Verse 32. Zeis teres azav, these are the laws pertaining to a man who has an abnormal discharge, and as well if he has a discharge of a man who has seminal emission, which would cause him to be impure. Zeis teres azav. Why does the Torah tell us about these 2 cases? So over here we have number 1, zav ba'ria achas, is a person who has a discharge once. And what is the law? About a person who has a seminal discharge, which then hadeu kibal keri tame to maserev. Then it tells us about a law pertaining if a person has this discharge and he has a seminal discharge, or as whatever it may be, he will then become impure as a balkeri, and then he becomes impure for the entire day until that day that he immerses himself in the mikveh, and then he becomes impure. Becomes pure. V'adava benidasa. As well as this tells us about a menstruating woman, someone who has an abnormal discharge as well. V'adava benidasa, a woman who is menstruating. V'azav azevei, or a person who has this abnormal discharge, whether lazachar for a male, v'nakeva for a male, uleish, and as well as to a man, asher yishkavim tamei, who engages in relationships with a woman who is impure. Rashi, zeist v'hazav azevei, Baal shteiriyas or Baal shalishrias. This now refers to the first case. The first verse was talking about a person who only sees a discharge once. This verse is talking about an individual who either has noticed it twice, he has it 2 consecutive times, or Baal shalishrias, or 3 times. In these cases where they then have to count 7 clean days and they have to immerse in a spring, where it has a different law pertaining it. And this is what they explained previously, the different laws pertaining to Zav and a zava, a woman and a man who has a discharge with 3 consecutive times, and what the laws of their impurities are. As we know, the laws of purity and impurity is something unique. As the Torah says, V'zartem, as the Jewish people are segregated, are separate, they have unique laws. This is what makes us holy. These are not laws that we understand rationally, and because we follow these laws, as God told us uniquely to the Jewish people, this is what engraves, as the word choik, carves and solidifies our connection and relationship with Hashem. This concludes the Torah reading of Parshas Tazria-Metzora.